Hey guys, what's going on? Tharun here. So I had a small request from one of the students in this course to do a separate video on CSS padding. So this is a special video for you guys if you didn't understand the previous CSS padding video. So we have the general structure of HTML. In case you wanted to refer this code, it's available on GitHub. It is index25.html. Let's edit the style sheet. Href is not main.css, but it's style22.css. Okay, we have that, and we don't have a script, so we do not want that. By the way, script is nothing but JavaScript file. We have the page title set as CSS Padding. We're set up. Now within the body, all we want to do is, first of all, I would like to say have an image element img src equals to a source code, and after the source we should always have an alt placeholder. So what is the image that we are going to have here? I'm going to teach you a new stuff on internet, that is placeholder.com. Now what does placeholder.com do? You can specify a URL source for an image like this, just like https via placeholder.com / and you could mention the size of the placeholder you want. It could be 350 into 150, or it could be 400 into 400 for a square image, those kind of things. Okay, now why is this important? If you remember, lorem ipsum is something like a text, and it is being used as a placeholder for text elements. Now if you want to build a website, just like a prototype for a website, and have placeholder images, okay, not just using the actual images, and you just want to just try out how an image of that size would look at that place, then you use a placeholder image. Okay, this is just an optional one. You could also place an image there, but this is pretty simple and pretty easy. I'm just going to show you now. So from the source, let's grab this src. Okay, this src is going to be a template for the other srcs which you are going to use, obviously, and within the src just paste the placeholder.com / 350 into 150. Now without editing anything, let's just open with live server and wait for it to open. You see that you have the 350 cross 150 image. Now why is that exclamatory there? It is here. Let's just delete that, and if we again open our website, we have the 350 into 150. Now you could again load different sizes of images. So let's load a square image. Let's take an image of size 500, save it, and when you open there, you have the 500. Now let's start to style that and demonstrate the padding stuff. Let's go into style22.css. we have linked it here. Let me word wrap it so that you could automatically see everything. So we have style22.css. let's open that. Now we have the img, right? Let's go to img and give it, no, first of all, before that, what I would like to do is I would like to take the body and make the padding as 0 and margin as 0. Now as of now, don't worry about these things. I'm just setting them to default stuff. Okay, so and by the way, it is not just style22.css, because in the folder structure we have the CSS folder here within which the style22 is sitting. So we need to change that to CSS / style22.css. let's save that so that padding and margin disappears. Now let's go to style22.css itself and take the image. Okay, give it a border of 3 pixels, solid black. Okay, so we have an image border for it. So let's just go to this place, give a div, delete this one, okay, and close the div. Save it. We have the div, and let's go here, div width of 100%. Okay, so we have a border for the div. Now let's also give a margin left to that 500 cross 500 image. You could also refresh your margin skills here. Let's give it 220 pixels. Again, this is experimented. There are some calculations here because it's 500 pixels. So 220 pixels would push it by 220 here. So you'd have again 220 here and 220 here. Okay, based on the total width. Or you could just experiment here with you could guess a value here for margin left, and based on whether you're getting center or not, you could do that. It doesn't matter. But margin in the sense is the distance between the border of this image, okay, the image's border and the outside element. Okay, for example, if I give margin, okay, bottom, you see that now in the margin bottom here we don't have enough margin here. So if I give 220 pixels itself, and when I hit save, it is going to go down to make room for that 220 pixels. That is margin. Margin is outside the element. Okay, now let's talk about the padding here. Padding is just the opposite direction. It is inside the border. So what if I give a padding of, say, okay, let's give 100 pixels. That's going to look funny, I'm sure. Okay, it makes sure that it gets that 100 pixels of gap between the inner image and the border. Okay, for example, okay, you could also have individual paddings here. Padding left. Okay, let me just give a padding left of 10 pixels, and when I hit save, it's gonna give the 100 pixels distance between the image and its left boundary. Okay, left border or boundary, whatever it is. So I guess you get the basic idea of padding and margin, right? Margin is outside, padding is inside. Okay, and by the way, even for padding you have the shortcuts. Okay, padding, if I give 100 pixels and say 50 pixels and I hit save, it is going to give 100 pixels for the top and bottom and 50 pixels for the right and left. Okay, that is how it works. Now let me comment this, and if I give padding of 100 pixels, okay, 50 pixels, 10 pixels, 0 pixels, when I hit save, it is going to give 100 pixels for the top, 50 pixels for the right, 10 pixels for the bottom, and 0 pixels for the left. So the format here is top, right, bottom, left. Okay, and the format here is top and bottom, okay, right and left. Otherwise you could just mention padding left, padding right, padding top, padding bottom. Otherwise you could just mention padding as 100 pixels, which will apply for all the 4 directions. Okay, the same goes with margin. These syntax goes the same with margin, with the same, you just replace padding with margin. Okay, that simply works out. So I guess you understood the padding and margin. Even now, if you didn't understand them, please feel free to ask me. I'm always here to help you all. Otherwise, see you guys in the remaining part of the course. Goodbye.